Oh no!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Channel 23 and the Faces of Carlsbad. For those of you who have never seen our show before, this is a program where we introduce nice people to you, people that you might know, people that you have never met before. But regardless of which situation it might be, I think you're going to enjoy these nice individuals. And today we're oh, by the way, I should say this too. Channel 23 was sponsored by Intrepid Potash, and we're very pleased to hold their high standards. Well, at least we try to hold our high standards.
Oh no!
Today we're very pleased to introduce to you a very nice gentleman that I've known for many years, Mr. Ray Ramirez. Ray,
Hey.
welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob.
And by the way, we liked your shirt. That's classy.
Oh, thank you.
So what we do in this program, Ray, is we try to go back in the background with your grandparents, where they came from, and your parents, and where you were born, and then we're going to go and get up to the update stuff. So that's the exciting part, I suppose, right?
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about your grandparents.
My grandparents born in Texas, and I'm originally from Texas, Marlin, Texas.
Marlin.
It's like 26 miles south of Waco,
Okay.
straight down Highway 6.
Yeah.
And it Natividad Ramirez, that's my grandfather's name, and Rosa Ramirez, that's my grandmother's name. And both of them worked, one worked in the bank, and she also worked at a little convenience store. And my grandfather, he worked odd jobs. He went to the war, and then after that he stayed down in Marlin and Waco and Mart and those little towns around that area.
Yeah.
He did odd jobs here and there. And from there, and go up to my parents, which is Raymond Ramirez Sr. And Rosie Ramirez, which is kind of weird, you know, because my grandmother was Rosie Ramirez, and my dad happened to marry out Rosie Ramirez too.
Oh my gosh, that's odd.
Yeah.
And the families were not related in any way.
No, they're far apart. You know, one was based, and my mom's family was really based like in the upper Texas area, Dallas, and a little bit Waco, Meridian, and stuff like that, in that little area. And my dad, you know, had 3 sons. My dad had three other brothers, which makes him 4 in the family.
Yeah.
And my dad was he started out with doing upholstery, car stuff, and working in Marlin. Then from there, went to the police department. And from the police department, he stayed in law enforcement all the time. That's one of the reasons we moved up here, is because he got a job at the Eddy County Sheriff Department.
So he was a sheriff's worker, right?
Yes.
Sheriff deputy.
Yes. And he made it up as far as, I think they call him senior or chief deputy. Yeah,
Chief deputy.
Chief deputy. I believe you have the sheriff, under sheriff, and then he was the chief deputy.
Oh, wow.
And he worked here 36 years. Well, 36 years in law enforcement total.
When did he retire?
It was quite a ways back, maybe about 5 years, 5 or 6 years ago. It could have been a little bit longer too.
I bet I met him because I rode with the sheriff's department one time, Kelly Calicote, and that was a number of years ago. And the sheriff at that time said that I would be welcome to ride with him again, anybody else on there, but he said we have to be very careful. So I never went back, not because I didn't want to get them all twisted around, but I bet I might have met your dad.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit longer than that. Probably like 10 years ago, maybe.
Oh, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I used to, it was kind of weird too. When I came back from the Army, you know, I helped him out too. He did some prisoner runs. He used to go to city and pick up prisoners, and I would be the reserve right next to him. So when we would go there, you know, they would ask him his name, and then ask him my name, and goes, "Is this father and son?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Wow, we don't get that often."
Yeah.
But you know, I was real proud to be with my dad doing that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was, he's really well known around here in the law enforcement.
Now, what do your parents do now?
My father, he's retired, and he owns the Dark Canyon little antique shop on Dark Canyon and the El Paso Highway.
Oh, yeah.
That little bitty shop right there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's his little antique shop.
Ah.
He does that, and plus I think he works at Walmart still. Just does maintenance or whatever they need there. And my mother, she went back to Marlin, and she's there with my sister, and she's basically retired, and she wanted to stay down there with her family. She's got a lot of family, like I said, you know, Dallas, Waco, and a little bit in between.
How big a town is Marlin?
Marlin's not that big. Right now, it's probably grown a little bit. It's, I'd say, well, Artesia's big too. I shouldn't compare it to Artesia. I'd say maybe about 10,000 less than Carlsbad.
10,000.
Yeah.
Less than Carlsbad.
Less than Carlsbad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty good size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because, you know, I talked to a former student of mine who's a postmistress down at that little town south of the border here. Oh. And I asked her what the population was. She said 2. And my brain is not working today on where I am. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. Population of 2.
Yes, yes.
Now you went to school here in Carlsbad, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Where did we first meet?
You and I?
Yes.
I would say probably when either before or after I got deployed. I remember talking to you, you know, and we both were veterans.
Yeah.
And I think we were discussing about, you know, what veterans are doing as far as, you know, well, what's the community's doing for veterans. I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I believe we may have met up there at the...
Could that have been in Clovis, at an air base up there? Did you ever go up to one of those air bases on those military get-togethers?
We, not as far as get-together, but we did go up there and we trained. And Melrose, too, close to Clovis as well.
Yeah. Now, you stated that you were in the Army. What part of the Army were you involved in?
Well, I started out in 1984. And I enlisted into the regular Army, and went through boot camp and airborne. And after that, I was ordered to go to my base, and I was stationed in Washington.
Oh, in Washington, D.C.? Or
Fort
Washington
Lewis.
State?
Yeah, Washington State.
Oh, I see.
In Fort Lewis.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was a tanker. And I became a gunner real early in my career, you know, like rather going from PFC to specialist, like in between, they made me a gunner. And I kind of like, you know, just stuck with that. I wanted to venture off in a different area in the Army field, but I stayed at tanks for a while. And after that, I came down here to Carlsbad.
Were you sent overseas at any time?
No. That if I were to enlist another 4 years, I believe they would have sent me to Korea, or I believe Korea, because they had a tank battalion up there that was attached to us in Fort Lewis, and that if you did a stint here, you would have to do another one up there, you know, in order to have your, I guess, I can't remember. Well, anyway, you know, if you wanted to stay there, like retired out, in the tank battalion there. You
Yeah,
had to do,
right.
you know, an overseas tour and come back down, and you could possibly stay there and have the option to go up there if you wanted to.
Ah, I
But
see.
you had to do that.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that at the time. I wanted to be a helicopter pilot, but me and the sergeant major didn't see eye to eye. So
Now, isn't it amazing how many sergeants don't see to eye with some of us lower echelon people?
yes, yes,
H-
yes.
What rank did you finally get out, and what was your rank when you were discharged?
I retired as a staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant. Wow.
Yeah, staff sergeant, and it was February 2011 I retired.
Mm-hmm.
But they retired me out of medical. I couldn't stay anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The last deployment that they sent us to, they sent the unit to, was Afghanistan, and I was going to go to Afghanistan as well, but my medical record said that I couldn't go because of the nerves that I have in the back of my neck.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't want to chance it, so they didn't allow me to go, and most of my guys went, you know, all the ones I trained. I was real emotional when they left, you know. It just...
Well, the interesting thing is that I've interviewed quite a few men now who've been in the military, and I have yet to meet one who was the same rank as I was.
Mm.
I was a corporal. Everybody else was a sergeant, lieutenant, a captain. Oh, it was terrible. I guess Napoleon and Bob Scholl just never made it. But anyway, and you know, it's amazing. You wanted to get into the air factor of the military, right?
Mm-hmm. Back then, you know, that was one of my loves. It's still my love now. Is to fly.
Mm.
I don't have the time really, because you know, UPS is really,
Yeah.
you know, I have my hours and everything. You know, I'm committed to being a delivery driver. But then, as I was with a major, you know, I would tell him what I wanted to do as far as my career in the Army if I decided to stay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wanted to be a pilot, you know. And so when we weren't busy, you know, he would allow me go, and I would get in the simulators, and I would test my skills, and they would allow me go in there. And I just fell in love with it. And as a matter of fact, when I came back to Carlsbad, you remember Mrs. Booth?
What was her first name? Do you remember?
Oh my goodness.
Mrs. Booth.
Booth. She used to live right here on 601
Yeah,
Canyon.
that rings a bell for me, but I
can't remember her first name.
Yeah.
But was, you know, I knew her son, Ernie, who passed away.
Yeah, okay.
And I talked to her, and she said, well, you know, let's go on a plane, you know, I'll take you up. And we took a Discover flight, and that was the first aviation book I ever had with the hours
Oh
of my flight
gosh.
time. And I looked at that, and I looked at that, and it's like, yes.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, now, you got involved with UPS,
Mm-hmm.
United Parcel Service. Is that the official name?
They've gone from United Parcel Service to just saying UPS.
UPS. They just stuck with those. That's very familiar. See those brown trucks all over this place, right?
We're everywhere.
Yeah. My gosh. And how did you get involved with UPS?
Well, back in 1988, I was at home, and my UPS driver used to come, Manny. Oh my goodness, I can't remember Manny's last name. Well, Manny, he used to drop by, and you know, he said, "Are you doing anything?" And I said, "No, not right now," because I was still kind of like in limbo out of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, you know, why don't you come over here and put an application in UPS?" I said, "Oh, okay, I guess I will." I did it, and I did Christmas help.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, I said, I don't know if I want to do this. But I did the Christmas help, and then you know, they didn't need me anymore, so they pushed me to the side, and I thought, I'll probably give it a shot. So I kept calling and bugging them, seeing if they needed anybody, I guess the persistence paid off, and the boss called me in, said, you know, we need somebody. are you willing to do such and such? And I said, sure. The rest is history. I've been there ever since.
Yeah, well, I get a kick out of watching you drive all over. I see you everywhere in this downtown
Everywhere.
area. And you go up those back alleys with a smile on your face and you wave. And yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess through the years you run into some humorous things that have happened. And can you recall a couple of those? Because as a delivery man, I'm sure you run into some funny things every so often.
Yeah, there's a little joke, something that's humorous with the post office. There's a lady that works there, and I saw her at Albertsons. I believe I was still in uniform. I was getting something, and she was talking to her daughter, and her daughter, I guess, scooted over like that, and I was looking at some popcorn, and she was looking at something else, and she goes, "Oh, well, you know, what do you want, honey? What do you want, honey?" You know, she wasn't paying attention. It was me behind her. And she said, "Well, what do you want, Darlene? What do you want?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, Mom. Not now." And she goes, "Ray."
Oh, that's great.
I told her I had to do it. I had to do it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, in your wife, you're married, right? And how many children? Do you have any children?
I have three.
3 children?
I have a daughter. She's 20. She's going to the university up here, and I have 2 twin boys. They're
Twin
16.
boys?
Yes.
Are they any one of the twins named Ray Jr. Jr.?
No.
No? Oh.
It's Darian's my daughter, and Aaron and Andrew are my boys.
Oh, Aaron and Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're in school here in school?
Yes, we have one in school, and we have one going to Faith.
Oh, I see. Okay. And your wife, is it difficult for her to keep track of all you guys?
Yes, it is. You know, she's a rock. I tell you, she's the one that keeps everything together, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, she's been through tough times as far as me being deployed. She's been there for me. She's been there for the kids. And when we had that awful flood in 2004.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You know, she was there for the kids too, and I was off training. I was in Roswell doing training, and you know, I came straight back. But if it wasn't for her, you know, we probably wouldn't have, you know, been there for the kids and most of the stuff. That, you know, the house was totaled, but you know, at least we got the kids out of there, and she basically, you know, got everybody safe.
Well, it's got to be a very interesting job going from place to place and delivering different packages. But have you ever run into a serious problem on one of your routes?
There's been people, you know, that are, I guess, you know, mad at situations, and I guess when I'm delivering, a lot of times the people think I don't have the right to deliver there, but you know, everybody in Carlsbad has a right to receive parcel.
Yeah.
So you know, I try to tell them, you know, I'm delivering. I'm not parked here. You know, I'm not visiting. Normally I'm there like, what, 45 seconds?
Oh yeah, at the most, yeah.
Sometimes I'll see you here, and then you come out, and then you see me over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been down the street a couple times in the last couple of weeks, and you're by a building on the corner, and the next thing I know, you're coming down the alley with some more gifts of surprise.
Yes, all the work for everybody.
Yeah, UPS, you stated earlier to me, is really doing a terrific job nationwide.
Yes, they are. They are.
Now, do you operate overseas? Do you also have overseas bases where you deliver packages, or is it just here in the United States?
Yeah, UPS, we're international. We're
International.
everywhere. We are definitely everywhere. You know, logistics is true. You know, if you send something through us, you know, we can track it. We can find out where it is and tell you what time, you know, we can get there. And they're real good at it.
Yeah.
Real good at it.
Well, that's interesting. Well, what do you do in your spare time?
Me?
Yes.
Well,
If
since
you have spare time.
I do have some spare time, some time. Right now I'm really enjoying football, you know, and we've got some friends that are really rooting for my Seahawks.
Well, they're playing quite well this year.
Yes, yes.
Yes, that's what I heard.
And I've been doing a lot of work at the house, you know, just kind of like building stuff and patching up. I'm not a true carpenter, but you know, I'm getting by and just building up some stuff here and there to help out, like on summer times, you know, we can enjoy the backyard or enjoy I like the memorial that we have in our backyard. I live on right there, you know, where the memorial that did Lower Tansel?
Yes, oh yes.
That's my backyard.
Oh.
And that's coming pretty good. It was really sad to see it underwater not too long ago,
yeah.
when the water was running. Oh,
Yeah, that had to be scary because that water was coming down over that one section of the bridge. And, I thought, my gosh, I've never seen it flow like that.
It came up to, if you can picture the park, that little utility road that runs along the houses.
Right.
There's a row of trees right there, and the water came up to the trees right there.
Wow.
And you know, me and my wife were thinking, you know, no, not again, because you know,
Yeah,
2004 it happened.
No.
We boarded everything up with sandbags, and we were just hoping for the best, and it didn't come.
Well, do you like to read or to fish or to play golf or?
I do. I play golf every once in a while if I can get out there with my friends. Fishing, I love to fish, and especially when they stock it with trout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun when they stock it with trout. I love to go down there. And my brother-in-law's back, so we've been out on the boat too, on the lake, which is real nice. Real nice. Once you get out there, I'm kind of looking forward to watching the Christmas on the Pecos. Hopefully we can take a little ride together. And
that's always a beautiful season, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The Christmas season with those beautiful lights. I've never seen anything like that on a river anywhere in this country.
No.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be. I've been to all 50 states at one time or another, and I've never seen anything quite as beautiful as that. We're very fortunate out here, aren't we?
Yeah, yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Well, when you read, do you read anything in particular?
I haven't read a lot. I used to read a lot when I was in the Army, and when I got out, I read a lot as well. A lot of Stephen King books.
Oh, yes.
John Grisham. And right now, I haven't read. I do a lot of reading on the internet about stuff. Every once in a while, community forum, I'll pick up the Focus book.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and I read about that too.
So you read from the internet? Oh, you people are surprising. It's amazing. I'm reading I like to hold a book in my hand, and I'm reading in bed, and my wife's over there on that, what do you call it, iPad?
Oh, yes.
And she's going like that, and I said, what are you reading? And she said, oh, it's another murder mystery. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I thought to myself, why? Don't you like to hold a book in your hand? And she just looks at me and just shakes her head. And
well, it's amazing. You know, my wife does the same thing with her little tablet. She does the same thing. But, you know, when we go out of town and we go to a Barnes & Noble and everything, oh, she just loves it. You know, the smell of books. I guess, you know, the smell of books is the key thing right there.
When I go into a Barnes & Noble bookstore, they have to come in with iron tongs to get me out. I love it so much, you know. And many of them serve cappuccinos, which I like to drink. Yeah, yes. I learned drinking cappuccinos from Guy Lupman. And he said that's a big thing in England, so I took that up. Yeah. Well, Ray, I want to thank you for being our guest. I really appreciate the fact that you came here and said I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. I'm gonna get some browns for you so you can come and help me downtown. You know?
Okay, that's good.
I'll load you up with a little dolly and let's go.
I'll be glad to help you. Anyway, you take good care of yourself.
I will. Thank you, Bob.
And on behalf of Channel 23, we want to say, have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye and good luck. Anyway, Ray.